and wants. That time is no more. The illusions of safety and assurance are inexorably dispelled by experience. On the world of Hesperia, the children of the gods were torn from their sanctuary of a blissful ignorance and unchallenged dogma. Eventually, everyone must grow up, even the eternally young. A single act of defiance set events in motion that would shatter the very foundation of existence. As the conflagration of a great war burned through the lands, unlikely allies rose from the ashes to defy extinction. The angered gods sought to rid the world of a blight that had befouled their flocks. This infection was an unforgivable sin, the true knowledge of creation. Their wrath was cruel and merciless. These are the tales of the great war that destroyed our world, and of the heroes that led us to new lands beyond it. Infinito Chronicles, the War of the Trees.
And we are live. Hey guys and gals, welcome to a special Monday evening edition of Comics Tonight. I'm your host, Don Chin. Please like and subscribe this channel if you haven't already. It's good to be here. How was your Monday? My Monday was kind of manic because I'm trying to figure out how to stream a pre-recorded interview that I did with Trent on Saturday. So he's not live in the studio with me, but we have about an hour's worth of conversation with Trent. And if you're not familiar with who Trent is, you'll learn all about him in the next few minutes. But I wanted to say hi to the chat. I wanted to also let you know at the end of the show, if you're still around, we're going to give away some cool stuff. So why don't I tell you about the giveaways first, and then I'll say hi to everybody. So to commemorate Trent being on the show, I had an extra copy of Cyberfrog versus Creed, which was the collaboration that Trent and Ethan did probably in the late 90s. This was printed by Harris Comics. This is the Ethan Van Sciver cover. I think Trent did one as well. So this will be sent to you free of charge, but you have to guess the trivia question at the end of the show. So stick around, and if you get it right, I will send this to you absolutely free. It looks like it's a mint condition copy and unread, so it'll be awesome. I actually have a signed one as well, but I'm not giving that away. You see Ethan's signature right there. So I had a duplicate. I figured I would bless somebody and give them an extra copy of Cyberfrog versus Creed. And then one of the trailers that we played before the show started was for Chris Fisk's incredible Infinitale Chronicles. And we have a digital copy of that book that he will graciously give to the winner of the second trivia question. So just stick around. They're both Trent Kanuga related questions. So if you listen to the interview closely, you should be able to answer. Actually, one of the questions you may not hear brought up in the interview, but if you're a Creed fan or you Google it, you'll probably be able to figure out the answer to the question. I saw Aerith in the chat before we started the show. I don't know if he's still here, but Aerith, I wanted to say thank you my friend, I did get your package in the mail on Saturday, and I wanted to actually unwrap it here on the show, because what I'm going to do is Aerith is going to be my guest on Wednesday morning, this upcoming Wednesday, the 9th, on Comics and Coffee. And that is 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern time. And I got to meet Aerith just like a week and a half ago. I went out to Arizona for a family wedding, and he didn't live very far away. So we got together for coffee on Sunday, and I shot some promos with him for the CGWF wrestling. But he has this awesome T-shirt, which OC Steve is in the house. OC Steve is actually one of the very, he's actually shown this on his Twitter feed. But let me open it carefully. I saw Aerith promote this on his stream Twitter feed a few weeks ago. And basically, he makes shirts besides comics. He's in all sorts of stuff. He knows how to make lots of merchandising things. He's got his own screen press. You can see the famous skull tissue paper. So what I did was I saw Aerith advertise a specific T-shirt, and I said, I got to get one of those. So this is it. This is the official Bow Crack Pack World Order T-shirt. And I'm going to wear this on my interview with him on Wednesday. And he's also graciously said that he will give away a free T-shirt, a free Bow T-shirt to the winner of our Quacky quiz on Wednesday. So if you want your chance to win this shirt, it's like a $25 value. Tune in on Wednesday, and you'll get a shot at winning this. But I'm looking forward to wearing this and proudly displaying it. I'm part of the Crack Pack Wrestling Federation, and it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, so today, let me say hi to everyone here. Besides Aerith, we had B Rose. Hey, B Rose. Nicholas Gear was also in the house. He's got to catch this on a replay. No problem, Nicholas. Thank you. Shadowhawk Bax is here. Thank you, guys. Wow, we got a good crew of 13 already. Billy, you're in this. Yeah, man. Billy, if you don't know who Billy is, he's a very talented artist, colorist. And I didn't know you knew Trent, Billy, but you guys probably live not too far away from each other. Maybe, I'm not sure, but I know you're in California and Trent's in California, but Billy's name came up in this interview. While I'm here, let me just check and see if I can share the video file that I want. Yeah, that's just it. I click on StreamYard and it says share video file. And I want to share the video file that is the higher res file that I did with Trent, but it doesn't give me the option to share the file. So what I'm going to have to do is resort to plan B, which is to play the stream. I uploaded the video to YouTube just a little earlier this evening. So what's going to happen is I'm going to interact in the chat, and you folks can also interact in the chat as you're watching the interview. So I'm going to be actually watching the interviews separately as you guys are watching it. So I know it's going to be kind of weird, like Twilight Zone-ish, but believe me, it's the only way I could figure out how to do this. And Trent graciously, he says he doesn't do live streams that much. And if you've seen him, he's very busy. He's got a huge YouTube presence. And I don't know if you know how many subscribers he has. You could take a guess. It'll come up in the interview, but it's pretty impressive. So he's very structured with his day. And, I think he's got a family. And so he's, he just tries to keep a regular schedule. And, when you're streaming, it can be 3 or 4 hours or less or whatever. This show is going to run about an hour, 15 minutes. And so we're going to go ahead and get this going shortly. I see Comic Talk with Pops is in the house. How are you? I know it's chaos. It's chaos. What happened was that I had a stream maybe a couple weeks ago, and Pops, I think you were here. I unboxed like I thought I was going to unbox 3 or 4 different projects, and Creed Reimaginary was one of those projects. But the show ran so long just with interaction, I didn't get to Creed. It was supposed to be on the on the agenda, but by the time like an hour and 15 minutes, 20 minutes rolled by, I'd already unboxed quite a few, and I didn't want to just kind of rush through Creed Reimaginary. So what I did was I decided not to unbox it at that day, and so I reached out to Trent and I asked him, "Hey Trent, do you think you might have time to come on my show and talk to me, and we can also unbox Creed Reimaginary, which has just been shipping out from All Caps Comics in the last few weeks." So he got back to me, said, "Yeah." So that's what happened, and it all transpired on a recent Saturday afternoon, which was just this last weekend. So you're going to see a pretty recent interview with me and Trent. All right. Yeah, Pops is the guy that always wins the trivia contest. I think you're going to have some good competition tonight, Pops. I think there may be some people that are Creed fans that might be able to get the jump on you on one of these prizes. So we'll see. You want everything, Pops. Eric's in the house. Hey, Eric, good to see you. And let's go ahead and get started, guys. So I guess what I'm going to do is, because I can't figure out how to share the higher res file, I think I'm just going to have to share my screen. Yeah, I'm going to give it one more try. It says reload, save as cast. Maybe cast is what I want. Nope, that's not what I want, guys. See, I'm still learning StreamYard. I feel a little more comfortable with it, but when you're dealing with the pre-recorded file, it did give me an option just to actually automatically start the stream with the pre-recorded video. But I thought, I want to talk to my fans face to face and not just kind of open with the pre-recorded video. I kind of wanted to set the stage on what we were going to do tonight. So that's what I decided to do. So if for some reason this isn't that high res, I will make the interview available, in a nicer, higher res format. But when I'm doing the streaming, it might have a little bit of buffering issues. So let's just give it a shot. We're all cool here. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen from what I uploaded earlier tonight, and we'll just give it a shot and see if it works. So once the interview is done, I will come back on in the studio, and then we'll do the drawings. So stick around, like in about an hour, it'll be over, and then we'll do the drawings, and we'll call it a night. All right, so let me go ahead and find this interview I did with Trent. I think I see it here. Okay, guys, let's give it a shot. Thanks for hanging in there, and like I said, if it hopefully this will work. And he and I have these weird ties from a long time ago. Hey everyone, this is Don Chin. I'm so honored to have a special guest with me today on Comics Tonight. It is a longtime artist, comic book artist, and video game artist. It's Trent Kanuga, and he and I have these weird ties from a long time ago. We used to hang out with the same circle of people, and I kind of got out of comics in the late 90s, and I still was kind of following what he and Matt and Ethan were doing. And I was excited to see that he ventured into video games. So we're going to talk to him about that and just kind of about his career in comics and video games. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and bring in Trent. Hey, Trent.
Hey,
good evening. Good.
Hey, it's good to see you. I had a
long
question
time
for you. Before we even begin, when was the last time you and I have actually talked? Because I know we've met briefly before, right?
I don't know if we've ever had a face-to-face or even a phone call.
We've talked a lot through direct messages and through emails and such. Yeah. And we do know a lot of the same people. Yeah.
Right. I've seen you, just lately, and it's so great to see your face. And then I go and I YouTube you, and I'm like blown away. You are a bona fide YouTuber with almost 300,000 subscribers. And I was gonna I know that was
They're
one
bots.
of my preset questions. What's that? They're bots.
They're bots. Bought and paid for bots. They're all the comments are my friends and family. That's yeah, it's just been I've been doing that for a while. It's been a side gig.
Yeah, I've got the link there. So if you folks want to see what Trent's doing, how often do you broadcast? Do you try to do a show a week or?
Okay, so for those of you who aren't unfamiliar with it, I mostly teach concept art for video games there, and I give insights into how artists can break into making their own comics or making their own indie games, or going to work for some of the kind of companies that I've worked for, because I've worked at some pretty established video game companies. So I started my channel to sort of bridge that gap. Back in like 2010, 2011, there was really no professional video game developers that were creating content for YouTube to kind of like explain, because I listened to a lot of like podcasts and they wouldn't know how games are made or how to break into the industry or what concept art it even is. And so I started making videos that were just time lapses, explaining my process using Photoshop, which is the standard that, you know, concept artists in video games have used for like 20 years. So I kind of evolved into an art community. And now I say that I post every week, and I do post at least once every Friday, a lot of times answering questions, sometimes giving like tours of the concept art. Like you can see there, all the concept art I did for Wrath of the Lich King and the Burning Crusade for World of Warcraft, Diablo 3, Hearthstone, League of Legends. These are just some of the video games that I worked on at the studio. As like, that's why I've been disappeared from comics for 20 years. But now I'll post a lot of times once or sometimes twice or three times a week, but I'm actually making big plans to post a lot more for kind of a new venture that I'm going into.
You've kind of got the Liv Schreiber thing going on.
Yeah, that guy, he stole my look. And, you know, what's funny is like when I travel, like when I go to Japan, when I was like younger, I used to travel to Japan every year, and they'd always say, "Oh, Wolverine, you look like Wolverine," because I had like longer hair and I was a younger guy, you know. Now they say you look like Sabretooth, which is very funny. It's like so I got some like Halloween costumes of me dressed as Wolverine, but now, yeah, I guess you're right. Looking at myself,
awesome.
I should pull up a picture of Liv Schreiber. I could probably do his expressions.
We got Liv Schreiber and old Jackie Chan with you today.
Yeah, so, nice. Yeah, we could do like the new Rush Hour 3 or 4.
Oh, there we go. A spinoff, man. Yeah, so Trent, when did you move out to California? Because I was surprised to hear that you were, well, obviously since you're in the video game industry, that's not probably unusual to live here, but you didn't live in California all the time, right? You were back east, right?
I was born in the lush forests of Indiana.
Right.
Basically just the plains, you know, cow fields and farms. I literally lived on a farm when I was like 4 years old or 3 years old. And then I guess it was after, so my comic book Creed did pretty well in the 90s. And then, you know, the late 90s, you were even saying like you kind of got out of it. So I was looking for some other option. And around 1999, there was a fashion company called Janko Jeans. Do you remember them?
Yeah, I kind of
had those big old pants, man, and that was very in line with the Creed look, right? So
exactly,
a lot of the artists there were fans of my comic, or they were friends of mine, people I knew. Even Dan Fraga worked there for a period of time, right before I did, and that place went through artists like every week. The boss would come in and fire people, but whatever the case, we were just doing a comic book that they were going to put in the back pocket of these Janko Jeans. And I was working with my buddy, Jeff Lauder, who inked several issues of Creed. We were shipping the pages over to Los Angeles for them to print them into comics that would go into the back pockets of these Janko Jeans. They were never made, so don't go looking for them. But we flew out to meet with the team, and they were like, "Hey, why don't you just like stay here?" And we were 21 years old. I literally celebrated my 21st birthday on the Sunset Strip. And like, it was sort of the start of a new life where I was like, I don't need to go back to snowy weather ever again. I'm still, we were broke. We lived in like near La Brea, which is like kind of Hollywood area, but it was cool because I got to go and see, like, I saw Tenacious D at like a dive bar, you know, I go and like see these like bands that would later become very well known, but I'd just go and hang out these famous locations like the Whiskey a Go-Go. I was a big Doors fan. So like that was really cool. And I was like, I just fell in love with Los Angeles, palm trees, like sunny weather year round, 2 seasons. I always missed the rain though. But it was Jenko jeans that got me to Los Angeles. And then I started meeting people working in the game industry and the video game industry. Just like, I always loved games. So, you know, we can talk about that later, but yeah, one thing led to another. I ended up working in video games.
It's so funny that you mentioned you're a Doors fan, because I just came back from a wedding. My niece got married in Arizona, and the DJ is my sister-in-law's brother. And he was an extra in the Doors movie, the one with Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer,
and he played a, I think he was a security guard or a policeman in a scene where there was some naked girl dancing, and he had to protect these rabid fans from accosting her. So I don't know if you remember that scene. I didn't see the movie, but you're a Doors fan, so I thought I would just throw that out there.
Yeah, if you read Creed, you'd know I was a big Doors fan. I was in love with like spoken word poetry. Just like, you know, I fell in love with words. I just fell in love with like, even though it was kind of tripped out and Jim Morrison was pretty out there, you know, and kind of like absorbed in ego, and especially the way he was portrayed in that movie. I think that probably, because that came out while I was in high school, and that really inspired a lot of the kind of direction. And music was very influential on me in my high school days with Creed. And ironic, because I created Creed before the band Creed came along, but to this day, I constantly have to hear people say, "Oh, what's a Creed? You mean like, or you must be a big fan of the band?"
Okay.
But Creed
did not
exist when I created the Creed comic. I wonder sometimes where they get the name. But,
yeah, you might have to call up Scott Stapp and chew him out. So Trent, what is your current day job? That was my first question, and you're kind of giving us a little hint that you're working on video games, but do you do a lot of the design, or what's your
That's a difficult question to answer, because I'm actually like, I get my income comes from like 8 different sources. But just to kind of give you a broad overview, for the most part, as of like right now, my primary job is an art educator. I just teach concept art for video game development. I teach artists how to draw comics. I teach artists through my YouTube channel and through private, like I use a service called Gumroad, which is like a direct video streaming or digital content distributor. I have a great relationship with them. I'm an investor in that company too. Like, you know, so Gumroad has been absolutely game changing for creators to sell their own content. So that's kind of what the primary, you know, income thing that I do now. I have been for the last 10 years or so, or 9 years. I've run an art house called Aquatic Moon, and this is the division. I'm kind of just shutting it down for now, but basically we've been creating concept art for video games. After I left working at Blizzard and Riot, I decided to start this company because I was like, well, we could work on Overwatch on, you know, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, and League of Legends on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. And like, I started hiring a staff. So I had like a team of, at one point I had 7 artists. That was the biggest I ever got with the company. And we had 5 contracts going at the same time. So we would literally be working on Overwatch environments. If there are Overwatch players, you'll recognize we do a lot of the skins, or not skins, but the sprays and a lot of the levels. Like we did concept art for, there's like a Blizzard World concept or a Blizzard World stage, and there's like a movie set.
Yeah,
like stage.
I play it. Oh, I was going to ask you.
We designed some of the concepts. We were a contributing team that contributed a lot. And right when Blizzard was like going, hey, maybe we could outsource a lot of this. That was when like I had good relationships with Blizzard still, even after I left. And so we were able to still contribute to this game. And we're very proud of what we have done on Overwatch, and very proud of what we've done on Legends of Runeterra. That was a big one that we worked on. We worked on Fortnite. We did when like last year they did this big event where there was like a undersea Atlantis type of a Fishtickia, we called it. And you can see some of our concepts for that, but we designed environments. So what we do, for those of you who don't know what a concept artist does, the director or the art director might say, well, we kind of have this idea for something that's like an underwater city. And here's how the gameplay works. And then they'll say, well, why don't you just give us a lot of ideas, painted ideas? So we'll come up with cool statue designs and like buildings and architecture and structures, and we'll research historical things if it's applicable, and we'll try to match the art style of the game in these paintings. And then we try to create content that a 3D modeler can then build the 3D images of, so that they can pop them into the engine. And they use Unreal for Fortnite, so they just pop them into the engine how they want them.
Okay.
So that's the majority of what we do.
It sounds like you're the visionary of kind of creating the worlds.
That's
other
very
people
generous.
come in. Who's your favorite Overwatch character? Just curious.
Man, you know, I like the original crew. You know, Tracer is so iconic, just for the look. I mean, and it's also like, it's kind of personally, like, how do I say this? Like when we started, I did some of the very first sketches for Overwatch when it was called Titan. And the original idea, the concept was like we were creating superheroes in athletic gear, because there was this movement at the time where we were pushing for, because I come from fashion design as well, I wanted to have a lot more like athletic type of gear. Like you would see these like, you know, bodysuits that would look like superhero suits, but they're just stuff that people would wear in a daily lifestyle. And the idea behind the original Overwatch, before it was Overwatch, was that you would have a day job and then you'd be a superhero at night. So they would have these kind of like these,
Gotcha.
you know, kind of athletic looks.
Yeah.
And so,
I love it.
yeah, I've kind of got an affinity for Tracer, kind of, you know, the original crew, but I've got a soft spot for mechs too. So Bastion's like up there.
Okay, nice. That's awesome. So I know that you kind of work for Blizzard and you don't work there anymore. So you're working on what? Can you say what you're working on now?
Yeah, like I said, I recently just, you caught me a kind of a transitional period, because I've literally just decided I'm no longer going to create worlds for other companies. Like we're not. I'm not saying that I would turn down Blizzard work or Riot work, but like I've stopped all new contracts to focus on my own thing, and I'm really putting, like, I'm considering starting a game studio, but for now I'm just focused on developing the IP, which is between Creed and Twilight Monk, Twilight Monk is a series of light novels. They have like, each book is 50,000 words and has 70 illustrations. So like, if you like my comic books, check out my light novels. So much more happens. I wrote them like a movie. So I was heavily inspired by the sort of format that was done with How to Train Your Dragon, where the author basically just puts together really cool imagery to show like, oh, here's what that character, like Toothless, looks like, and here's what this other character looks like, and here's what that location looks like, and here's this really awesome drama, you know, and this is actually my 4th novel. I've never took a break. I've kept doing art books and novels ever since I was still, you know, once I left comic books, I just kept doing stuff. So it's been really between Twilight Monk and Creed have been my focus for side projects. And now it's reached a point where this is becoming my primary gig, is to just be the creator of Twilight Monk and Creed.
Awesome. So you mentioned you have several different kinds of revenue streams. Do people pay you to instruct them, like on Gumroad? Or
well, you're supposed to pay me like $20,000 just to be in this. I'm waiting for my check, Don. This is public appearance. But no.
I didn't get that memo. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to end the stream. I know how much you charge for covers.
You got to keep within budget. No, so primarily, like, yeah, I'll still do some things. Like I do covers for novels. So some of my friends are like, I'm really good friends with Nick Cole and Jason Onspach, and they write the Galaxy's Edge series of novels, and they're very popular. And so I get to draw like cool space bounty hunters and, you know, sci-fi soldiers and stuff for their book covers. So like, that's one gig I'm going to keep doing. You know, I still do some Hearthstone illustrations, because there's something really good about taking a job where you're not in control, like you're not in charge. There's something good about like getting feedback from a really good art manager that can go like, hey man, maybe push this moon back a little bit and like desaturate this part and You know what I mean? Like somebody that can give you a different insight into even your own process. So I like taking some small jobs, but for the most part, yeah, like I said, my income comes from figuring out what artists struggle with and creating workshops around that, and also really documenting my own process. And as I discover new tools, as I discover new methods, like I've been doing this for 20 years with digital art. So as you can imagine, after 20 years of doing something, man, you learn a lot of tricks and a lot of things that, you know, beginners wouldn't know. So that's really what a lot of my Gumroad tutorial content is focused on, is like, yo, don't waste 6 years trying to figure this out like I did. Like, here's the shortcut.
I've seen some of your YouTube videos, and they seem like they're very good at helping people. Just curious, Trent, is your YouTube revenue enough to make a living on, or not really?
Not YouTube directly, but Gumroad, yeah.
Oh, good. Awesome.
I mean, that's one, like I said, that's one source of income. The other source of income is obviously, you know, books such as Creed and my illustrated novels and my art books. That's another source of income. And also, I sell old sneakers that I import from, you know, over the border behind the Target every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. for discount.
Oh,
it's a Nike. It looks like a Nike swoosh, but it's not legally. You know what I'm saying? It's like the Nike boot.
So what's your daily routine? I mean, do you have a set time that you're working, like a 9 to 5, and then you stop, or you're working this weekend? It seems like, so maybe you can kind of tell us.
Well, like I said, I'm in a transitional period of time right now where it's like a lot of my contract stuff I'm not doing as much anymore. But what it always was is like, when you're working with somebody, if somebody's paying you, they're your priority. Like, you get that done first, you know. So in the mornings, I would, you know, go over emails and like, what's my team doing? Like, you know, are they hitting the marks that the client wants? And if not, then do I have to do a paint over? And that might take an hour, it might take 2 hours. Maybe I've got to get the artwork back on the rails, you know. And after a while, that's less and less as I work with an artist. Like, some of my artists, I just trust them completely. I barely have to give them much feedback at all. But that kind of like eats up the first 3 or 4 hours of my day usually, is like the running the art house, like making sure that my artists have what they need to succeed. And if they're going through frustrations or struggles, you know, like to kind of be there for them to help them to sift through some of the harsh feedback at times and things like that. Or, you know, it's taking meetings with the client to make sure that, you know, we're still making content that's useful to them. Because like, if we're not making content that's useful for them, it doesn't matter, you know, how good it is, how beautiful that painting is. So that was really kind of how things would work. That would be my priority. But these days, what I'm doing is more of like, I'll set aside my Mondays and Tuesdays almost most of the day after I do my whatever is required by contracts. I'll set aside the rest of the day is just for making YouTube content. And I don't do live streaming. I do edited, like, sometimes I will, it's crazy. And people like, I've had some of my friends just like go, what the hell are you doing? Because I'll spend 7 or 8 hours editing a 10 or 15-minute video just to make sure that I'm thinking about, like, because I give advice on art career stuff, and like, there's so many nuances, and it's like, well, you know, I'll record something and it's like, yeah, generally what the advice I'm giving you is true, but what about that kid who's like got this other problem or doesn't have access to some of these tools? And it's like, well, I really have to think about all those different angles and really try to put together a well thought out opinion, even though technically I probably should just loosen the hell up and just do just do off the cuff stuff, you know.
They're very well edited. So, you know, kudos to you.
I appreciate you saying that, but I've seen some of these guys, like, if you look at guys like ZHC or you look at guys like Jazza, like, they got full editing teams, and man, it's really pro. And then another guy I've been looking at, there's 2 guys that I'm friends with, and I just really admire their editing and the presentation. They're art teachers, but their video edits, Proco and Mark Brunet, like, both of these guys are just really good at editing art tutorial content. And I think they both have teams of editors though. And that's maybe what I need to do is actually like hire an editor. If you're a video editor out there, I want to hire you.
Yeah, get in touch with Trent.
Yeah.
I think I saw a wedding ring on your finger. Are you a family man? Are you married and you have kids or?
I mean, I'm married, but as far as kids, I don't really know. I'm just kidding. None that I'm aware of to this point, but it is possible. I suppose that's possible, but like none that I know of. No.
There's a little Mark Farley running around out there somewhere.
There might be, to inherit the Creed kingdom someday.
Let's go back to your roots. How did you originally meet Matt and Ethan? I think I kind of know you were in Indiana and there was Hall of Heroes, but maybe a kind of a quick spiel on how that all happened.
Yeah. So Matt Martin, he's the creator of Snowman, for those of you who are familiar with the books that are coming out from All Caps right now. Yeah, he was, so in middle school, we weren't professionals when we met. Like in my middle school that I went to, his artwork was all over the cafeteria. He always won all the art awards in my middle school. And then, you know what? When we got to high school, same thing. It was the Matt Martin show. And I was like, I'm taking you down. So I think the first time I ever met him, though, I was so nervous and shy. I walked up to him and I think I told him, I might have like told him that he was my rival or something like that. Like, I think like you're going to be my art rival. And that was the way I introduced myself to him. So it was like, I think we were very competitive with each other through high school. He was a grade higher than me. And, but we just started like drawing comics together. We were like, he was into comics. So, and he was always getting his artwork in the school newspaper. And I was like, I want to do that. Like, that's going to be my thing. Cause I was already like, you know, when you're young and you decide to be an artist, it's like this big epiphany. You're like, I got to do that. Well, when you got a roadmap to somebody that's successful at it, even within an attainable level, it's like, that's such a blessing because then you're able to like really reach for something, you know what to do. So like he had his comics in the school newspaper. So I was like, I'm going to have my comics in the school newspaper. Before you know it, we're drawing comics together. We shared art class. I tried to make sure, he doesn't know this. I tried to make sure that we had art class together so I could psych him out every day. You know what I'm saying? Get in his head. And it was like it was like Schwarzenegger in that Pumped Up movie. I was like, you got to get in this guy's head.
Yeah.
You know, your lines are looking kind of weak there, Matt.
Did you create Creed and did he create Vortex in high school or was that after high school?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll give you the short version of what happened. So we used to draw. We were both big Todd McFarlane fans, and right around the time that Spawn #1 first came out, which was like '92, and well, I mean, we were big fans right before that. Like it was like the Spider-Man era. We'd still buy the Spider-Man comics off the rack, and of course I liked Liefeld and all those guys too. You know, so that was really inspiring at the time. So I was drawing superheroes with the big capes and all that. You know. And by the way, I remember Zen the Intergalactic Ninja too. That was one of the books that inspired me to like do indie comics, you know, and that was another one. And but whatever the case, so we were drawing superheroes, and I couldn't draw anatomy. I couldn't really draw that well, but I had good line art, and I was great at kind of emulating what I saw. So, or like picking out what worked from different artists. And so I was trying to draw superheroes, but then one summer it was like every summer I'd come back and I'd be like, oh man, can't wait to show my new sort of stash of skills to my, you know, my art rivals at school, which were really my friends, but you know, art rivals, whatever. And they're interchangeable. Rivals and friends, same thing. You know? And so one summer I came back and I was like, I'm not doing the superhero thing anymore. They make my friends, my art crew makes fun of my anatomy all the time, and I didn't understand how to get better at it. So there were no tutorials, no videos, nothing like that existed. And I didn't know of any anatomy books or how to learn anything. So I basically just went, you know what, I'm going to just go nuts. I'm going to make Creed was originally based on a comic strip that I did in my middle school newspaper about just a kid who was deranged, but it was kind of like, I had a sick sense of humor. It was like a lot of like dead animal jokes, and like, it was like, you know, Beavis and Butthead type stuff, just goofing off, but a little bit more emo than that. And then I just gave him longer hair because I had longer hair, and gave him the big pants because I think I really liked the idea of a character that is like standing on solid, firm ground. And when I came back that summer, it was like, yeah, the very first Creed book. Yeah, you guys can see he's got like huge feet. That wasn't the first book, but that was around that time. And when I came back to school, like it was a really, like I think I caught a lot of crap because like one of the guys, John Rose, would say to me, he said, I'll never forget, he said, his calves, your character's calves look like basketballs. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Hell yeah, they do. And for some reason, I felt like this is different. When I looked at all the other comic books out there, sure, there were books that it had similarities to, but there was nothing else that really like had a kid that wasn't sort of talked down to. I remember reading characters that were kids in comics, and they always sounded like dumb sort of stooges. And I was like, no, man, like I'm a kid, and none of my friends talk like this. So I started writing the character to talk the way that I talked and the way that my friends talked. So even though he was kind of like crass and, you know, it was just like a little just more real, I think. And then the concept of escaping to a dream world was like, I had a little bit of a rough childhood, and that was sort of my escape. So the character escaping into a dream world was completely parallel to me escaping into a comic book. And I didn't even make that connection at the time. It was like years later, I realized it's just, it's the same concept, escape into another world.
Okay. So you and Matt are Indianans. And so how does Ethan and Hall of Heroes, how does that all come into?
Thank you for reeling me in here. Yeah. So so that's how I met Matt. And then Matt and I really wanted to publish our own books. What we would do is like print them at the like Kinko's copy place, and just staple bound, you know, and give them to our friends or try to sell them for $1. We couldn't get $1 with a photocopied book. But then we went to a comic book shop, and actually I heard this story from Matt's perspective later, and I found out what had actually happened was Matt had his fan art of, I think he did like a Spawn fan art, and it was in Wizard magazine in the letters page. And Alan Stewart was the owner of a local comic book store, and he contacted Matt and said, hey, you're in the same town as me. I want to make comic books, because I'm sure you've heard of Alan Stewart. Have you heard of that guy?
Just from collecting your earlier works and seeing his name in the Hall of Heroes books.
He was the founder. He was the Hall of Heroes publisher, and he was he owned a comic book store, so he knew how comic books were purchased by stores. So he contacted them and figured out how to. He was 23, I think, something like that. And we were like 16 at this time. I was 16, maybe 15 at this time. But Matt was like, hey, this guy I know wants to publish Vortex, because he was drawing Vortex for his church, like kind of Christian superhero.
Right, and, kind of Spawnish, yeah.
Yeah, kind of like a Christian Spawn, like a super Christian Spawn. And so yeah, he was like, hey Trent, you're pretty good. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do your Deadbolt? I did a Christian superhero Spawn character kind of a thing too, but he died in every issue. It's sad. His name was Deadbolt. That was my first comic book ever. And so I had two Deadbolt books. I did Hall of Heroes #1 featuring Deadbolt, and then Deadbolt got a spin-off, and that was, I think they only sold 500 or 600 copies at the time. But then at that time, Matt and Alan and I decided we wanted to bring on more artists. We were like, there's so much talent out there, but like, we don't know who they are, and why don't we do a talent search? And one of the portfolios, I'll never forget, sitting in the back car of Alan's car. He had like a station wagon. We were going to Chicago Comic-Con, and one of the submissions was from Ethan Van Sciver, and Matt and I were unanimous. We're like, yeah, let's do it. Alan, he took some convincing, but Matt and I immediately were like, this guy Ethan is doing more detail than we do in our books. This is nuts. This is a new paradigm. We didn't like that he drew like super realistic looking faces. Like, Ethan comes from a caricature artist background. He used to draw caricatures at a mall. I wonder what those originals are worth. Like, if you got a caricature, you know. But he had great social skills, so he charmed the hell out of us. And you know, because I don't know what it was. It was just like when he would come out and visit, we just we'd all get along really well, and there were tough times too, but for the most part, yeah, like we just all really hit it off really well, and I think we did. It was only for about a year, maybe less, maybe like 6 months that we were really working together, because pretty much like I know pretty much after that I left Hall of Heroes. I did 2 issues of Creed, and a lot of that was like those were good times though, because when Ethan would come out, he would we'd challenge each other. We'd sit around Matt's parents' kitchen table, and because we were just kids, still living with our parents, and we'd challenge each other like, oh, what if you put the camera inside of the character's mouth, or like, oh, what if he's like got his severed head hanging over his shoulder, stuck to a spike in his shoulder pad, and like, so Ethan I think he was a very influential person because he had such a intense personality, and he was like a big fan of those old, really crass indie comics, like Milk and Cheese was one of his favorite.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Like those really kind of crass, super indie books.
Evan Dorkin, yeah. So was he a lot older than you, or are you guys all the same, about the same age?
Like 2 or 3 years. Ethan's always like, I always kind of saw him as like maybe like a little bit of just a older cousin or something. So yeah, he's a couple of years older.
So do you still have copies of Deadbolt? They must be highly collectible.
Yeah. I do have some copies. They are not highly collectible, to be quite honest. Look, man, I was 15. Okay, there may even be some like tracing in that book. Like I was pretty amateur, and when you're 15, it's like you don't even know what the rules are yet.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was there with you.
Yeah. So it was like I might see like a beautiful woman in a magazine and like trace out her face, but the next time I try to draw the character at a different angle, it doesn't look like her.
Yeah.
Like literally, like I'm not making excuses, but I was 15 and there was no internet, so there was no shame. Do you know what I mean? Nobody would like go online and go, you copy that thing.
You plagiarized me. Yeah, that's true.
I couldn't do that.
It was simpler times back then, for sure.
It's funny though, because now, like, I think there are some artists that their whole career is like tracing photos of models and actors, and there's photo bashing in the video game industry, and it's just like whatever gets the job done and really dazzles the viewer. Like there's weird rules around. I don't want to go into that. That's probably like an intense topic for some people.
All right, so
that's how I met Matt and Ethan.
Okay, so let's move on to like you left Hall of Heroes, and then how did you get connected to Lightning Comics?
Oh yeah, back then it was before the internet, right? 1993, 94. I mean, the internet existed, but it wasn't commonly used. I didn't own a computer until 96. Like,
I think we had like CompuServe and Prodigy and all those,
the bulletin
AOL.
Yeah. And so I used to put my address in the letters page of my book, and I'd get like fan letters and stuff. But one of the letters was, and I wish I still had it, one of the letters was from Steve and Joe Ziskowski. And they were like, hey, we really like what you did with Creed, and would you consider bringing it over? We don't know what your plans are, but we'd like to talk to you, that kind of thing. And I remember getting on the phone with them.
I want to hang on, Trent. Where did I go? I don't know. I didn't mean to put, okay, hang on, remove that. All right. I want to show people your Lightning book. So go ahead and explain the Ziskowski relationship. Ziskowski brothers. Seduced you to the dark side.
Yeah. In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. I mean, these guys were very smart. They realized that there's a story there. A 17-year-old kid that can draw like that, like they poached me basically, and I was really frustrated with Hall of Heroes because despite that Hall of Heroes got some buzz, like the Hall of Heroes Creed books got buzz, I didn't get any money. Like I got $500 for these books that sold 20,000 copies, basically, combined, cumulative. And so I was very eager. It's upside down. That's a Matt Martin cover.
Yeah, I can recognize it. It's the Crybaby signature. So I was. You only got paid $500. That's That's highway robbery, man.
What's that?
That's highway robbery.
What is?
You getting paid $500 to do.
Oh,
to do
for
your
the
work.
for the Creed, the first Hall of Heroes Creed books. Yeah. I was broke. I used to sell copies of Creed out of my trunk for gas money to the comic shop.
Wow.
But whatever the case, so when the Ziskowski brothers approached me and they were like, "Hey, man, like you got a pretty cool story here, and you're about to graduate high school. Like, how about you go pro? How do you feel about going pro?" And I'm like, "How do I feel about going pro?" And they're like, "We'll do Creed in full color." And I was like, "Yeah, baby, let's do it."
Yeah.
So yeah, so the first published deal that we got was for 8 issues, and they sent out a newsletter or what do they call it, press release to Wizard magazine, which was the #1 comic book magazine in the world at the time. So, and they sent a photographer to my high school, and like I was kind of a local celebrity at my school. Suddenly, all these girls wanted to date me. They ignored me before, but like, you know, so like Mr. Big Time, Mr. Popular with a full color Creed comic coming out, and yeah, life changing. And I had my frustrations with the business side of doing art and comics, but so it wasn't easy to adapt from your idealistic, 17-year-old view of how the comics business works into, what it actually is. My only real regret with Creed at Lightning Comics was that we didn't do a sequential 1 through 8. We just kept doing, like, we'd do 3 issues and then we'd start over with a new #1 because #1's always sold really well. You remember that? Like desperate times in the comic book market in the late 90s. And I understand from a business standpoint, they wanted to maximize the profits on that. But like, I didn't know that. So I couldn't subtitle each of the mini stories, the 3-issue stories. And so I never had any say in that. So it always bothered me. There were a ton of rare silver edition covers and like new #1s, and it's very confusing if you're a Creed fan because you're like, oh, there are only 3 Creed comics, right? No, there's actually like 20 now or 25 now. And so but nobody would know that if you weren't really a hardcore fan, and that was really hard to do back before the internet to even keep people informed.
So I'm pulling up the page from your campaign. That's your spread in Wizard, right?
Yeah, that's my spread from Wizard magazine. Look at that hair. I still got it. I think I still got. Look, I've been growing it out. Look, I'm trying to get that hair back.
Not too bad, dude. Actually, healthy locks.
Same angle.
So
going for the same angle there.
Yeah, so I noticed there is a different Creed cover. Like this looks like a metallic ink one. And then how did the Cyberfrog Creed book come into existence?
Yeah. So before that, I did one of my last books at Lightning Comics was that they put me in touch with one of my heroes was Peter Laird from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I did a Creed crossover with the Ninja Turtles, and that was like my last book at Lightning Comics, right? And I didn't know what was going to happen, and Ethan was actually. We had a little bit of like a falling out for a couple of years because we were very competitive with each other, And when I was still doing comics, it was like, of course, just, like I said, my friends were my rivals, but we were always really secretly friends and wanted each other to succeed. And he was already at Harris, and he was like, "You should bring Creed over to Harris." And I was like, "Well, hey man, I'd love to, right?" But the guys at Harris weren't convinced, and so Ethan convinced them that he would do one more issue of Cyberfrog with them, I think. And you'll have to ask him the details of this story, but what he had proposed to me was that he would write a script. I would have final say on my, sign off on my character's portrayal, and I would draw half of it and he would draw the other half. It ended up to where he ended up drawing more of it because he just kept going, "I really want this scene." And I was a bit of a pushover, and Ethan, like I said, I always looked up to him. So I was like, "Hey, okay, fine, you get to draw that scene." So I only ended up drawing like 1/3 of the whole thing. Yeah, but
okay.
It was fun because in a lot of ways, that was what that book symbolizes and represents in a lot of ways is sort of like Ethan and I burying the hatchet on our competitive like frustrations with each other. Do you know what I mean? Like trying to outdo each other. It was us kind of like going, time to put the gloves down and just rock and roll. And it was right around the time that I had signed a publishing deal with Avatar Press. And then soon after that, I just left comics altogether.
What did you do for Avatar?
I did 2 issues of Creed, and I was very I was beginning to get very frustrated with how comic books were published. I've never really been happy with the way that comic books as a business are handled and how they handle creatives. And I came to realize that, like, if I'm ever going to do comics, I have to publish it myself. And at the time, there were just not the tools to do that. And I think it was really just it was just a difficult financial time. I went through probably, like, all the Creed money from Lightning Comics was gone. I had to move back in with my parents, and I was in the pits. And so, like, I started just taking jobs wherever I could. And so, like, Avatar was like, hey, yeah, it was because Matt Martin was working with Avatar, and he was like, hey, maybe you could bring Creed over to Avatar. The publisher isn't a big fan of yours, but he really he'll sort of reluctantly publish it. And I was like, maybe if I just make it amazing, he'll change his tune. So I did the best 2 issues of Creed I had ever done at that point, and that was the cranial disorder story. And there were some of the most detailed pages I'd ever done in my life. I was really trying to, like, if you like the artwork that I did in that book, it was like immediately after that. So it was like kind of a level up from there. Harris passed on me after that, but then Ethan left Harris around that time to go to DC too. So
yeah,
it was really just kind of like, I thought maybe I could prove myself at Avatar, but sometimes when somebody has a view of you, you just can't change their view of you. Do you know what I mean? No matter how good of the work you do, or how hard you work at it, or the best foot that you put forward sometimes just is never enough for somebody. And then other people will just love everything you do. So I, unfortunately, like, I think I just got really spoiled with a great publisher with Lightning. And I thought, well, any publisher would promote my book, right? Not as much as Lightning ever did. And so I'm still friends with those guys. And you know, it's been neat to look back on such a great
good. Yeah, we did I think we did a Nira X Helena crossover with those guys. Yeah, and I always thought they were nice, and I think they're in real estate or finance or something like that.
I recently talked with Steve. I recently talked with Steve. He's retired and just living his best life. He's just doing awesome, and I think that Joe is starting something with crypto comics, like NFT comics or something like that. And,
I saw that.
He's mostly involved in real estate, I believe, Joe Ziskowski. Yeah, but like, they were so resourceful. So back in 1995 or 96, they were making Creed action figures, and they were getting me licensing deals for Creed, and it was like, I had no idea how good I had it. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
Because
so when did you? I was going to ask you, when did you make the jump from drawing traditional, pen and ink artwork to going digital? Because you seem like you're very proficient with computer and technology.
Oh, thank you. I actually, that was the Jenko days. So when I got hired at the fashion company, Jenko, I was designing pants and I was designing characters that are on those clothes. And so if you know much about fashion design, you have to do everything in vector-based graphics. So I had to do that in Illustrator so that it could be scaled to whatever size. So it's really neat. The first time I saw my artwork on, like, the side of a building in Los Angeles, on Sunset.
Wow.
Or it was actually off of Melrose. Yeah.
Nice.
Which is like a street with a bunch of shops. Whatever the case is, like, famous, street, and seeing my artwork blown up to a wall size was pretty damn cool. But also, I would say I started learning Photoshop at that time. I had a couple of friends of mine who were comic book colorists, and they were showing me how to do, digital art in 1999 and 2000. It was like the early days of Wacom and all that. So
okay,
so 20 years with Photoshop. I know my way around.
So I want to open up the all caps campaign. And have you done any unboxings with anybody?
No, not one. In fact, I don't even have my copies yet.
Are you serious?
I got one copy of each of the covers just last week. Like, after I'm seeing everybody else get them, I don't have mine yet. I didn't even get approvals on it. I don't know what it looks. I mean, I knew I found out what it looks like last week, basically.
Okay. Well, I'm going to open it up here. I'm sure you've probably seen people kind of post videos on getting the product. So it came in a really nice, all caps Gemini mailer.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons I wanted to work with him. I mean, first of all, he reached out to me to do the Creed book, and like when I saw how they deliver, because I had ordered my Cyberfrog books, and I was really happy for him with the success that he had with that. And then when I got it in the mail, I was like, the production quality on this is sick. Oh man, I can't wait to see what he does with, Creed.
So I got a nice little hollow foil sticker.
Nice.
And
did you already open this? Are you reopening it?
No, I just slid it open before our interview. So I've never, I've had it for like a week, and I was gonna do an unboxing, like a couple weeks ago, like in the evening, and your book was on my slate to open it with, just without you here. But I had so many people kind of interacting that I couldn't finish the Creed unboxing. And I thought, why don't I just reach out to Trent and see if there's any chance I could talk to you. And I think fans find it more interesting when you open it and you can actually comment on, what the process was. And so here's a cool frog sticker.
Yeah. I thought that would be cool. You could put that on your backpack or on your laptop or something. That was,
Did you do any sketch tiers for this, or,
I did. I just shipped them out. Yeah, I just shipped them out back to Ethan, so they're going out in the mail to anybody who ordered a sketch edition. And I'm going to have more on my own eBay store, as soon as I get my copies.
Cool. What's your eBay store if people want to look it up? Do you have a?
I have that on if you go to my Twitter, I have like a link, all the links on my Twitter right there for everything. And on my YouTube channel as well, I put all the links to all of my shops and all this.
Okay.
Every way to
cool. I mean, this is like, it looks like foil, kind of a foil embossed logo.
Yeah, that was tough. Yeah. And you know what? That foil embossing, that costs as much as the printing of the whole book almost.
Oh, I bet.
But it's worth it because you get that premium feel when you you haven't seen it like outside of the sleeve yet, but when you run your fingers over it, it's got like a nice indent to it. And Ethan's team at All Caps they're really good about just making sure that quality, when you get it, it feels good. And by the way, I was very insistent on not having too glossy of artwork or too glossy on the interior pages. I was very difficult about the paper, because I wanted it to not be too glossy, but like still vibrant and bright.
Did he print? Do you know if he printed it in the States or did he go out of country?
You know what? I don't even know the details on that. His team was handling that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's beautiful design. And so, how long have you been in the works with on Ethan working? When did he come approach you and say, let's do Creed?
Pretty much. I think him and I had lost touch, and then when I saw that his Cyberfrog campaign, like I told him 10 years ago, yo, you should do an Indiegogo campaign, and he says, nah, I'm working at DC, I don't need to beg for money. And I was like, okay, I get you. But I was like, but you're a superstar. That's what Indiegogo is for. And he's like, well, maybe someday. And then when I saw that he actually did it with Cyberfrog, I was super pumped, and I saw how much people have just gravitated towards his thing. So I was helping him boost it. So, I was retweeting him and just like really, I think letting him know that I really supported him. I was really proud of him. I was really happy to see him really finally come back to something that I've been telling him he should do for years, because he's a great writer. He's a great entertainer, and he's a pretty good artist too. I don't know if you noticed.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, so like giving that energy to something that he owns, like, oh man, yeah. So and then he kind of, I think he saw, yeah, that was a great piece. I would tell you a little bit about that piece, but I think he just saw that I was being very supportive of it, and I think he had a lot of people asking him, hey, what about the old Hall of Heroes guys? And I think he was just like, yeah, you know what? I got to get Matt and Trent back together to do it. And Matt had agreed to do it, and then I agreed after that. So the whole plan was just to try to I was also going through, early 40s. So I'm like, reminiscing on old days from my early career. And it was a good time to go, man, it would be really great to, kind of tell a story again. So yeah, that cover though, if you go back to the cover, the one that has all three of our art on it. Yeah, that was done. There are 3 separate drawings in ink. Ethan sold his on one of his auction streams. I gave the Creed one to Billy Baxco. Those of you guys in Comicsgate know.
Oh, I love Billy. Yeah.
So because he's just an awesome dude, and like I wanted him to have something really meaningful. To me, this drawing was very meaningful because it sort of represents the three of us for the first time in 25 years or 7 or 8 years getting together to do a jam piece. We used to do this all the time. I have so many half-finished sketches of all of our characters together in these cool, poses and shots just like that. And so we did that through mail, though, where they would send me a really high-resolution scan. Ethan's, for some reason, it was like a bitmap with like chunky graphics. I had to clean it up. I don't know what's wrong with the scanner, but like it was like a really rigid bitmaps, like pixel art. And so I had to like combine all three of those pieces, and then I did the colors. And I got a little help from one of the artists on my art team.
So it's Reimaginary. Is it old and new material, Trent, or is it okay?
So let me explain what there was a 4-book ashcan series called, and it was a full color ashcan series called Creed Imaginary. And I released it after I was working on Diablo 3, which is a fairly popular video game. Some of you may have heard of it, but it was a really rough time because I was going home and drawing my own thing. I was trying to get back to doing comics, and this was like 2009, 2010. And so I would just draw these pages, on my lunch hour or when I get home at night. And so I released it. I was just like, I got to put it out there, but I don't want to go through the big publishing houses. I've always had bad experiences with publishers. So I released it as ashcans, and they're like these mini comics. And some people out there have them. They're probably worth a lot of money now. I had a garage full of them at one point because people stop looking you up if you're not on a Marvel title or something. You know how that works. It's like one of the most frustrating things about comics is like people kind of forget about you if you don't do something all the time. You got to really keep it up. And that's something that I think Ethan's been just really good at. Despite that he's kind of takes his time with his art, he's still always very prominent, and still puts out a lot of work. So he's just taking more of his time now, I think, because he's reaching that like sort of master tier of like trying to reach for this absolute excellence. You know what I'm saying? Like put your everything into that. And I'm just now starting to reach a point where I can afford to give that much time to something. But whatever the case, with Creed, I couldn't really reach the kind of market attention because people were going, hey, why don't you do Creed again? People always ask me that. And then I would do Creed. Like they would literally ask me that while I'm working on book 2 of an ashcan series, and they don't know about it. So the hardest part of comic books is getting the word out about anything you're doing. And that's why I think it's great what people that are doing what you're doing, which is like just getting people talking about the comics they're buying, getting people talking about the books that they're working on, and people who are open to doing live streams and chats like this get a little bit more exposure on the books that they're doing. I'm not actually promoting anything here though right now, but
that's okay.
But I actually wanted to come on because I wanted to tell you that I think it's really cool what you're doing, and I think it's great that you feature other artists and you just keep that conversation going about some of these passionate artists who really have great work. But even though it's great work, the most frustrating thing with comics was always that you might be doing the greatest work of your life, but nobody knows about it if you're not talking about it all the time on all the comic boards.
Right. So. Yeah. So that leads me to the next question, Trent, is do you have any further plans? I know you mentioned you're kind of in a transition, and it's the Twilight. You said Twilight Monk?
Yeah, Twilight Monk is my novel series, and I've got so my next book that I'm releasing is the second book in the Twilight Monk series called Return of the Ancients. The first book is already out. You can get that on if you go to aquatic-moon.com.
Okay.
You can get that. And then I've got an art book for Twilight Monk coming out. That's the second art book. You can get that through aquatic-moon.com as well. And then also I have for Creed, if that's what you're asking about, you're probably asking about Creed. So what I have is I have several pages sketched out, and I have a outline of a book 3, but until I kind of have a lot of plates going at once. So until I have some kind of a green light that it's going to happen from a publishing side, I'm just chipping away at it when I have time. But I know exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be a real evolution in the series for the character as well, because things get a little bit more paranormal. Yeah, that's the Aquatic Moon website. Thank you for
beautiful. What's your wife think of all your creative endeavors? Is she
she doesn't even know that I draw. No, she's
How did you meet your wife?
You know, just I was a male stripper for a period of time. I told you I fell on rough times. She was at a bachelorette party. No,
I forgot to tell you this was a family show. It's way too late now.
Well, everybody knows what. I mean, I was a professional dancer. It was nothing shady there at all.
Now, you paid the people though. It was like a bizarro stripper world, and people.
Right.
You were paying people to watch you strip.
To watch me, it's just a dance with little clothes. No, so I think I met her at a party. I met her at a party with a lot of friends from. She's not an artist. She's like a normal person, and she's just the most wonderful person in the world that I've ever met, and the best woman I ever met in my life.
That's sweet, man. So before you met her, though, did you? One of the questions I want to ask: did you ever get any interesting fan mail? You were a Wizard centerfold. Did you ever get any weird female admiration or?
You mean like girls' underwear in the mail? What are you talking about?
I wasn't gonna mention that, but I got a marriage proposal when I was doing hamsters. From a lady in Canada that she sent me her picture, and she wasn't very attractive, so I had.
So it didn't work out. That's too bad.
It didn't work out, but did you have any interesting fan interaction back in the Creed days?
Yeah, some really awesome. You know, some really great experiences. Some scared me. You know, but you know, just people saying I came by your house, but there was nobody there, and I was like, what? But dude, I have had fans show up at my house, and then my mom was like, Trent, some of your fans are here. And I'm like, Mom, just tell them I don't live here. But
how did they find you pre-internet? Did they look?
Like I said, I put my address in my comic books at the time.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I had to move because of that.
Is Kanuga, is that Hawaiian? It sounds a little Hawaiian. Are you
funny you would guess that. Hawaiians can pronounce my name, but I'm not Hawaiian. I'm actually really? Japanese. Can't you tell?
Yeah, I can actually a little bit.
Just kidding.
Oh, dang it.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
A little bit in the eyes. I don't know. You might have been half and half. I don't know.
I'm actually by descent. I'm Ukrainian by descent. So Kaniuga is actually Kaniuga. I don't know how to say it. I don't speak Ukrainian, but it's a Ukrainian name. But my great grandfather migrated over during the famines in the, I think it was the 20s or 30s. There were like famines in the Ukraine. Don't get me started. Oh man, bad blood. No, I don't. That's just things I've read about. But the family moved over to start farming in the Midwest. So I got like there's a handful of Kanugas out there in the Michigan and Toronto region. A famous newscaster in Toronto is named Kanuga, I think.
It sounds like, Jason Momoa, Trent Kaniuga. It sounds like you could be a surfer or something like that.
Dude, I love surfing. I love Hawaii, but no, alas, I'm not Hawaiian, not officially. Yeah,
that's okay. That's okay. Yeah. Hey Trent, it's been a quick hour. I know you got to probably get back to the grind, but is there anything else you'd like to say to the viewers out there?
No, just other than I want to thank everyone who did back Creed. That was for me to come back and revisit these characters and to see that people liked them and that they're embracing that they seem to like the new story. I'm getting really good reviews. I would love to see more reviews. If you have a copy of Creed Reimagined, make a quick video or even just drop me a quick line over on Twitter or any of my socials. I'd love to hear people's feedback if they have fan theories on what might happen next. I got some pretty cool stuff planned. I don't want to keep doing starting over. I want to actually do this continuity from this timeline because Creed Reimaginary really is a reimagined series. I added a lot of new pages. that was something we were talking earlier. You were asking if this is old material. I forgot to mention, literally almost like half of it is all brand new stuff that I just did last year. So
Awesome.
it's a lot of more recent
Now,
material. I had the book done in April though. It took that
wow.
long to ship it out. I don't know what happened.
Are
but
you
I think
are
I
you
think we were
planning
waiting
on
on we were waiting on that Creed Cyberfrog crossover.
okay? Are you planning on
Yeah.
doing this? Like, is there a schedule with all caps to maybe do this like annually, or do you
The
just kind
thing
of plan
about
it by
Ethan
ear?
is he's the head of All Caps Comics. Ethan, he's kind of, I've said this before, he's a unicorn. If you're lucky, you spot him in a field in moonlight, and he lets you know what's going on. If you don't spot him, you just carry on and do your thing. That's what
Yeah.
I'm doing. I always have a lot on my plate. Like I said, I'm looking to pitch a new video game of my own this year. I'm looking to do a lot more Twilight Monk books because those are greenlit, you know. Those are things that I've got deals in place to do. But as far as Creed goes, it really depends on what the plans of the publisher. I'd love to do it with all caps if that's something that happens. You know, I'd love to do it that way. You know,
Do you
yeah.
do you see Twilight Monk expanding beyond the books? I mean, do you have like people saying we want to do games, we want to do movies or animated things?
Nothing that
like
I can confirm. Nothing that I can confirm. But let's just say that, like, yeah, I mean, I literally just was talking yesterday to a potential business partner about a really big move that's going to make Twilight Monk really blow up. So
Awesome.
And,
Well,
so I'm hoping.
you know, it's the first I've seen. I mean, I've seen it mentioned in your bios, but I haven't seen the graphics until you pointed me to your website, and it's just like beautiful. I can see how it would translate well to a movie or animated series or something like that. So
yeah, well, send me
cool,
your
man.
address and I'll send you one of the art books. It's 90 pages and it's like, it's basically taking everything that I do for concept art for games, which is the world building. Like, here's this location and here's a bunch of backstory on how it was built, and here's this character's outfit and how they change by the time they get to this part in the story. And so the world of Twilight Monk is this like art book that's just kind of all the fun world building stuff.
That's so
And
kind of you, Trent.
Yeah, I'll send you a copy, man.
I'll gladly trade you. I'll send you some of our latest Parody Press, and
Oh, that'd be great.
We'll trade addresses. So I put up your
Fantastic.
link tree, and I think that's where you can find everything Trent related that anybody could ever want, right?
Hey, you know what? You're really good at this, man.
I'm learning, man. I just watched my first stream like from a year ago, and it was in this very same room, and I've learned a lot about lighting and just background and all that.
I noticed you got that LG TV behind you there too.
Yeah, a little my faux aquarium and stuff, so it's fun.
Life's good, man.
But well, Trent, bless you, my friend. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's valuable, and I'm definitely going to support anything else you do. And
I
appreciate your time. All right,
and that's
take care, my friend. Yes.
Oh, one more thing before we go. Thanks for being such a supporter of Creed in the last. I noticed your retweets. I noticed you promoting it, and you always have good things to say about it. So I appreciate that. I wanted to come on and personally thank you for that. So,
Trent,
thanks for having
you're a gentleman.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you so much, and tell your wife thanks for letting us borrow you. And someday we'll go more into the stripper background of your desperate days.
Dare we? Maybe I'll have some whiskey on that episode. All right.
All right. Thanks, Trent.
Have a good one. Have a great weekend.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. All right. So let me mute my previous interview with Trent. There we go. Hey, how was it? Not too shabby. I thought it was fun. I actually hadn't watched the video playback until now with you guys, and I thought it was fun. Trent's a good guy. I could talk to him for hours. I hope you enjoyed that. So, guys, without any further ado, you've been waiting for the end of the show, so I promised a couple of drawings, and we have this thing called the Quacky Quiz. So I'm going to play the little intro to that. All right. Quacky Quiz says you're going to have 2 minutes to put in the correct answer in the chat. If you win, you're the first correct answer in the chat, you will get, as I said earlier, this beautiful copy of Cyberfrog versus Creed, illustrated by Ethan Van Sciver and Trent. This is from the 90s. It's published by Harris Comics. Really cool black and white comic book. And then I'm going to throw in our beloved BEARDZZERKER Cat Stevens sticker in with the this prize. So I will send this out to you in a Gemini mailer, but you have to answer this question. And it wasn't in the interview. You'll have to know a little bit about Creed, or you might be able to Google it if you're fast enough. But I'm only going to give you 2 minutes, and I'm going to start the timer right now when I put the question up. Okay. So when you hear if no one gets it and you hear the duck quack, we're going to have to save the drawing for another show. But I think someone's going to get it. I'm betting on it. So here we go, guys. I'm going to start the timer. So here is the quiz question. What is the name of Mark's pet frog in Creed? I'll give you a hint. It's in Creed number 1. And you can either give me a full name or an abbreviated name. And I think, well, we have some guesses. Billy, you're close. You're close. That's not quite right. Ethan? No, it's not Ethan. Everybody thinks it's Ethan. No, it's not Ethan. Chris Smith says Pepe. I like that. My wife will get a kick out of that. She knows who Pepe is. This bot is totally not right. It is not Vum today. So get the heck out of here. Billy was excited. He had typos. Billy? Kaskin Jep, could that be the right answer? And yes, it is. Billy, you are the winner with 31 seconds left on the clock. I can cancel the duck quack. You win, Billy. I know how to reach you on Twitter, so I will give me your address on my Twitter direct message, and I will get this out to you along with a Cat Stevens sticker. So congratulations, Billy, for winning our first drawing. And then I also promised a second drawing for one of our lucky viewers. And that will be for a digital copy of Chris Fisk's Infinitale Chronicles. And I played the trailer at the top of the show. If you hadn't seen his trailer, it's super epic, super well done. And I know he's working on a second one. So Chris actually has a lot of similarities to Trent. Chris has worked on a lot of video games too. I'd like to have you on again, Chris. You're very interesting and super talented. His campaign, I think, was one of the better executed ones of the year. So I'm going to go ahead and get the Quacky Quiz timer ready. So if you were paying attention in this interview tonight, you should be able to answer this pretty quickly. So I think there's a lot more multiple choice on this one. Okay. So here we go. Question for the Infinitale Chronicles Digital. Name a video game Trent has worked on. He's worked on quite a few. I've played some. He's worked with Blizzard. So if you know who Blizzard is, there's kind of a big game for that. He named a few in the actual interview with us tonight. So let's see what we had here. Congratulations to Billy from SDA. Kenneth says congratulations to you, Billy. I don't know, Billy. Do you have the Creed Cyberfrog already, or maybe not? I don't know. Yeah, Billy says he did well at Creed trivia. Chris, Chris, you actually got it right, but you're the creator of Infinitale Chronicles. So for you to win your own digital comic book that kind of cancels itself out. So I should have said you're not eligible, Chris. Diablo 3 is correct, but I don't really think you want me to give it away, Chris. I know you do. SDA, I think you're right. Was it Assassin's? No, I don't think he mentioned Assassin's Creed. SDA. I think I'm just getting it confused with the comic book. Muttman. Okay, Muttman, I will give it to you. But SDA, if I'm wrong and he did work on Assassin's Creed, I might have to bargain with Chris to see if I'll get 2 digital copies. But Muttman, he did work on Diablo, specifically 3, and you also followed up. You also followed up with the World of Warcraft, which was a correct answer. So you, Muttman, you win the digital copy of Infinity Tale Chronicles. I will get in touch with Chris to let you know how he's going to get that to you. So I think that's going to do it, guys. I did want to mention again this upcoming Wednesday, just in 2 days, we're going to have 2 shows, 2 for the price of 1. The morning show will be Aerith at noon Eastern time. That's 9 a.m. Pacific time. Aerith is going to talk about Dwarves versus Lion, the next Aerith saga book. And we're going to give away, like I said, one of these cool BOW Crack Pack World Order t-shirts. And I will wear this when I have Aerith on my show. There's all sorts of CG wrestling matches happening this week. So if you haven't been following that, you should. I think Mark Polton's wrestling. Mike Barron is wrestling. And then I think next week I'm in another match. I actually advanced in the CG. I beat my my fellow Cractimus Prime teammate, Mike McMahon. It was a brutal match, but I think he needed to work on his cardio is what he said. So Wednesday, set your reminder. Aerith will be here, Dwarves versus Lion. And also that night at, let's see, that'll be 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. We're going to have a big Nira X Reborn launch stream with Bill Mouse, Cat Mouse. I believe Andrew and Gabriel Mangum will be with us. And also Tom Doherty, who's the publisher of Committed Comics. So they're going to be launching Nira X on the 9th. And he'll also be on Pops Van Zant's channel in the morning. I think that's at 9:30. I think it's 9:30 Eastern time. Boy, the chat is going crazy. What are you guys saying? Before I turn this off here, Mitographia, Overwatch was a correct answer, but unfortunately you were just a slight bit too slow on that, Kenneth. But Mattman, congratulations. Chris Fisk says, I'm the less fat half Asian male Oprah. Oh my gosh, that's too funny. Bow everyone. Crack Pack Backs. The CWO, awesome. Yes, the Bow shirt. Sorry, Mattman. Mattman is not a fan of Crack Pack. He is part of Clean Team or Clean Team or something. They haven't even won a match, so it's kind of embarrassing, my man. You guys got to get your act together. You and what is it? You and Cal or Macho Man? You and Macho Man? I get all you guys mixed up. You guys on Breaking Rad all look alike. So, anyways, as Chris said, Aerith is a marketing genius. When I had coffee with him on Sunday, like a couple weeks ago, I was blown away. This guy is next level thinking. I mean, I think I've heard that he's going to be one of the first to maybe start funding his own comics on his own platform. That's where he's kind of leaning. So you got to check him out. He's got a lot of great ideas, and he knows how to do lots of cool stuff. So anyways, guys, thank you again. Herrenberg, thank you for joining us. I would like to mention on the Nira X Reborn show, we're going to give away 2 digital comics from kind of our sponsors, and that will be a copy of, I'm sorry, actually physical copies of Herrenberg #2, which I have right here. So at the end of the Near X launch stream, actually on the Near X launch stream, we're giving away all sorts of stuff. But this is one of the comics you could win. And then our good friends Mo and Joe from Texas, they have a new comic book called Splinters of Yggdrasil. And so they're going to give away a copy of that on the Near X show. So it's kind of a super heroine extravaganza on Wednesday night. And then Tom from Comedic Comics will give away digital comic book of Near X. And then Bill's going to give away a sketch card. And I think I have an extra t-shirt that Andrew Mangum designed that I'm going to give away. So if you guys like free stuff, definitely come in and check out our show on our shows on Wednesday, because you can win the bow. I think Aerith is, I might have another drawing on Wednesday morning. I'm not sure what it's going to be besides the, I know what it is. It's going to be a digital comic book from our good friend John Hervey at Beyond Time. So you can win a t-shirt and some cool digital comic books from Beyond Time, like Magna or Black Tiger. So anyways, guys, everything is going great. I hope you have a great evening. Stay safe out there. We'll catch you in a couple days. Thanks for tuning in. And again, I want to say thank you so much to Trent for taking time to talk with me and just kind of give us the lowdown on his career and what went into Creed. So I had a lot of fun. So guys, thank you so much. God bless, and we'll talk to you later. Like Matt Man says, y'all have a good night. All right, see you guys.